Hi guys, and welcome to this video on the full moon in Aquarius that happens on the 22nd of August 2021. Thanks for joining me. It's a pleasure to be with you today. The chart you see next to me here, that's a snapshot of the sky at the moment this full moon is going to happen. And I'm going to have a look at what the planets are doing and how they interact, what energy that brings up, and how you can use that energy to your advantage so you can have a fabulous time here during this full moon. So it happens at 1 minute past 1 in the afternoon, and that's based on Europe time. The full moon and the new moon, they're both gradual events. So it takes a few days for the energy to come in and to go out. So I always say don't get too hung up on the exact minute when this full moon is going to take place. You'll notice a gradual build-up of energy, particularly in this case. So we have the sun and the moon obviously 180 degrees away from each other. The moon is fully lit up, and it gets to this completion stage in its 28-day cycle where it can just kind of go, oh, I can relax, I can let go. And then it showers us with all this energy, Aquarius energy, which is the sign that has to do with humanitarianism and being of service. So you'll notice that you feel very aware of what's going on around you, of what's going on with the people in your life, how you can make a positive contribution, how you can be of service, and how you can do something that helps someone other than just you. So you're really thinking very charitably during this time, which is interesting because the sun in itself, that's in Leo, and the sun rules Leo. So that's very happy and it's very powerful. And the sun in Leo is very much about putting you center stage and saying, what do you find enjoyable and how can you use your influence to lead others? How can you be in the spotlight and entertain and take charge of a situation and really have fun in the present moment? How can you feel alive, basically? And the sun in Leo is very much focused on the self and what can I do to make myself feel bigger and more alive? It's on the same axis with Aquarius, so they have something in common in the sense that they're focused on other people, but Leo wants to do things from a position of authority and being in charge, being the boss. And Aquarius wants to connect with other people, not to make the self bigger, but to do something for the greater whole. So it's focused on the identity of the human family. So we've got a great connection with the public and an understanding of other people and an appreciation for them and being able to see the beauty in other people and the light and the great potential. And that's really benign. That's really positive when it comes to your interactions with others. So if you can put yourself in a situation where you can do group work or teamwork or the families involved or your friends or your colleagues, 2 heads and 5 heads and 10 heads are better than 1 because you all get on very well. And if you brainstorm and if you do something as a team, as a community, that's going to have a much better outcome than doing something that's completely just on your own. So that's the first message I'm getting. What's interesting as well is that in this chart is drawn up from the position of Vienna in Austria at this moment when this happens, okay? If I drew up this chart from a different location, so let's say Atlanta in Georgia or Cape Town in South Africa or St. Petersburg in Russia, then the houses would be different and the way the planets are dotted around the houses would differ. The rising sign would differ. It would be very, it would look like a completely different chart. The positions and the angles and the aspects would still all be the same. They'd just be in different placements. So when I do these full moon readings and the new moon readings, I usually don't pay attention to the house system that much because it is so changeable depending on your location. In this case, though, it interests me because the sun is really at the very top of the chart. It kind of draws my attention and it says, do you know what? The self is going to be exalted on this day. Not from an angle of you're a megalomaniac and only interested in the self, but there's a real connection with who you are, your strength, your power, so that you feel at ease and you feel competent. You know what you're good at, you know what you can contribute to a situation, and you feel your strength in an appropriate and accurate way. That's the sense I get. So there's no self-doubt, there's a lot of confidence, and there's an understanding that you do have skills and a purpose, and that it's your job as such to do something with that purpose. Now, the sun and the moon, they're both at 29 degrees. And 29, if you add that up, it's 11, and 11 is the master number of service in numerology. It's the same as Aquarius in astrology. They both have to do with being in a service role and teaching and sharing something for the community, the greater whole. So with this, the sun in Leo, with that placement being at 11, even the sense of self and my desire to lead and to be funny and to enchant and to influence other people, even that is got a service quality associated with it because it's 11 degrees. So you'll notice that you weirdly have a huge appreciation for other people and what they're going through, and that even if there are successes that are just ideally or fundamentally designed to honor you or to put you in a position with a gold medal, then even that kind of stuff, you'll find ways of letting other people share in the triumph or the success or the victory. So what I'm trying to say is that you're very, very considerate of other people and you're very loving towards other people. So if you're a bit of a grump and you don't get on with a lot of people, this is a good day to get a reprieve from that grumpiness and to say, hey, I'm a person just like you. I mean, you don't need to hug and things, but you can get on the same page with other people. You can reach an agreement. You can work well together. So if that's a struggle for you, use this to your advantage and really connect with other people and see how well it goes. Amazing. So then we have the moon, also 29 degrees in Aquarius. So the moon is what gives you a sense of comfort. It's what comes easily and naturally. So you're connected with abstract ideas and thinking and research and education and innovation. And using ideas in a structured way to have a positive influence on everybody. So, like electricity. I have an idea for electricity. Okay, it works. Let's install it in everyone's house so they all have light. It's that kind of thing. And with it being at 29 degrees, 11 in Aquarius, we really have this abundance of empathy and compassion and appreciation for other people, and also the time and the patience to do something. You really see how your contribution can make the situation better. So I would really use that to be of service in some area that's been difficult for you in the past. If you've always wanted to work for the United Nations, you'll be reminded of that desire on this day. If you've always wanted to volunteer for a charity or do something in your community free of charge, you'll be reminded that that is a good idea. Also, with the sun being at the top of the chart, I really think that there will be new ideas coming through on this day, which are very much based on critical thinking, research ideas, and it can have an impact on society. So there could be a real shift in terms of something that's invented that could work as a convenience, or that could alter the way we interact and communicate with one another. Or there could be an innovation that allows us to harness different types of energy through some sort of invention, some sort of progress in technology. And it's something that takes center stage on its own. So because we have so much humanitarian energy, it's almost like the idea that's born in someone's head immediately takes on a life in the public imagination as such, because people will be so interested in it. So I think a new idea is very likely to come about during this full moon. That's really interesting. And partially that is because Jupiter sits right on top of the full moon. And Jupiter is the lucky planet of expansion and growth. It's the biggest planet in our solar system. And it really is responsible for kind of giving something the breath of life, letting it take on a life of its own and growing in its own pace. It's at 26 degrees, 2 and 6 is 8, that's power and strength. So we have a lot of lucky, positive and powerful energy floating around and information floating around that people will be able to pick up on and to integrate. So if you're an inventor or a scientist who hasn't invented anything lately, go back to the drawing board here during this period and see what is it that I want to create. There are lots of ideas. They are powerful ideas which are going to have a big influence on the culture, society, the human family. And there will be a couple of people on the planet who tap into this energy and really discover something amazing. And that brings me to that saying, I think it's from Shakespeare or something, there's nothing new under the sun. And I totally disagree, because there are lots of new things under the sun that we haven't discovered yet. And by tapping into these kind of moments, we can have eureka moments of clarity where something is understood, and then you can harness it and you can use it as a resource. Yeah, I mean, like the internet. That was new in 95 and changed everything. Okay. So that's the connection between the sun and the moon and Jupiter. And also, when I do a birth chart reading, I always refer to this as the silver and gold sparkly connection that you have in your birth chart when Jupiter and the moon sit together like this. Because the moon is drawn as this gold crescent, and it's really what is an easy natural talent for you. And Jupiter is silver, it's sparkly, it's what kind of comes along and brings real value into your life. And having them sit together means that what comes most naturally and easily to you is going to have a lucky positive outcome, or very likely is going to have a positive outcome. So here, being of service and teaching and thinking about other people, that's what comes easily to you, and that's where you tap into this lucky power and you can really have a major success with it. So ask yourself, how do I use my time and intellect and skills to be of service to other people or a situation, and then try and build at least some of that into your day, because it's going to trigger something really good. Okay, so then the full moon, first of all, it semi-squares, so it's 45 degrees away from Chiron at 12 degrees in Aries. And that means that if you do have an idea, and if you are inspired to help other people, don't keep it to yourself and say, oh yeah, maybe tomorrow, or yeah, I'll do the patent in another month or something, or I'm sure someone else has had this idea, so I'm not even going to bother with it. That kind of defeatist thinking? Don't go there. If you do think of something on your own that you think is going to have a positive influence on other people or your environment, then please do share it with other people. Remember, it's a good time to connect and to work as a team. So the idea that, I've got this new invention for a rubber sole for a tennis shoe or something, and then you just keep that to yourself and you do nothing with it, that's just going to die a death. It's not going to go anywhere. But the question often is, what if I share my idea and someone steals it? Happens, right? It's not very likely on this day. It's much more likely that you share the idea with people who can then help you and support you in realizing that idea. So don't be so afraid of having people rob you. And if it is something where you can't, like, of course I have to have a patent and I have this trademark before I mention it to anyone or anything, then, make some progress in that area to share it with the patent office and to get your idea registered to you so that you can work with it in future. That's going to be healing to you. That's going to help you make progress. That's going to help you move forward and to move ahead. Okay, and then we have something really interesting in this chart. We've got the full moon forming a square with Black Moon Lilith and the North Node in Gemini. Then those two form another square with the Sun in Leo. That Sun forms a square with the rising sign in Scorpio, and then the rising in Scorpio squares the moon and Jupiter in Aquarius. So we've got 4 squares, and if you look at the chart, you can see, if you tilt your head a little bit, you can see how that creates a big red square in the chart. And a big red square like this is called a grand cross. It's an area of friction that gives you lots of energy, but you're bouncing around from one corner to the other, and you never quite find resolution, and it just goes round and round and round. So there's the potential to get kind of stuck into that type of maelstrom where you're just going around and you're never really focused on one area. You're just bouncing from one thing to the other, and it distracts you. It sucks your energy. So what happens is there's friction between this desire to be of service to other people, but then there may also be some fear that if you speak up, that you'll be ridiculed, or that people aren't going to understand you, or that your hopes and dreams are dashed and you're disappointed. That is somewhat mitigated by the Sun in Leo, which says you do need to be of service today. It's a good opportunity. And also with the 29 degrees, it will benefit you and will prove something to you, how confident you are, how much of a public speaker you are, if you are of service today. So you have a personal stake in this. You're like a charity worker with an attitude. And then the Sun squares Scorpio rising. Scorpio rising at 26 degrees. Scorpio is really, as far as I'm concerned, the sign of the healer. It likes to get to the truth, to do its research and to go past all the fluff and the superficial concerns. And it likes to get to the core issue, and it likes to shine some light onto that issue so that it can be healed and transformed and reclaimed. 26 is power, so you have great healing ability and the ability to assess what the problem is and how to overcome it. And I feel that that is part of this whole invention process, that you actually see what needs doing, you do it, and in that way you can be of service to lots of people. But you see, it's very different to the Moon and Jupiter in Aquarius, which says serve. So we've got this friction going around. Okay, so I want to be of service to people, I want to help other people, but I'm afraid that if I say something stupid, it's not going to work. I owe it to myself to be of service, but it's also a little bit scary to look at all this dark stuff and to be responsible for it on my own. What if I say the wrong thing? And that's really the potential handbrake here that could throw you off or slow you down. And I would venture even to say that if you do have an idea that you feel is based on something important and real, that of course it's going to be a little bit scary to talk to other people about that, because you've got a personal vested interest, that the stakes are high, you feel this is important. Of course I don't want to be laughed at. So if you look at it that way, if you do have a little bit of anxiety or self-doubt around what it is you're wanting to share, then actually that's a good sign that this is likely to be something, because you're invested in it. It's important to you. And if it was just nonsense, then why would you find it so important? It's based on you, your feelings. So a little bit of reluctance is actually a sign that you're working with something that's important and that's likely to succeed. Okay, so we've got that Grand Cross, so you'll go round and round and round with that. So just bite the bullet and say, well, I'm not going to let the anxiety or self-doubt stop me. I'm going to connect with other people about this stuff. It's important. And that's the best way out of the Grand Cross, I think. And to put that energy into one particular direction. Then we've got, I think that's it as far as the Moon is concerned. Yeah, it forms a square with Scorpio rising, forms an opposition with the Sun in Leo, I've talked about that, forms another square with Black Moon Lilith in Gemini, forms a semi-square with Chiron, and that's it. Yep. Okay, so but then in the chart overall, we've got a kite. A kite is a grand trine. A grand trine is similar to the Grand Cross. It's a big pattern. It's this big blue triangle you can see in the chart. So we've got one trine, which means that two things in the chart are 120 degrees away from each other. So we've got Saturn in Aquarius. That's 120 degrees away from Gemini, Black Moon Lilith in Gemini. Then another trine with Venus in Libra. Then Venus in Libra trines Saturn again. So we've got this big blue triangle. And then we have two sextiles sitting on top of one side of the triangle. Sextile is when two things are 60 degrees away from each other. And we've got Venus sextiling the South Node in Sag. And then the South Node in Sagittarius forms another sextile with Saturn in Aquarius, creating a kite. And a kite is a talent that can take off and takes on a life of its own. A grand trine in itself is a potential talent. And the potential talent here between Saturn and Venus and Black Moon Lilith is that you have something really solid and valuable to teach other people. Plus, you have the charisma and the ability to engage with other people in such a way that you can get your point across in a creative way, in a way that other people will accept and try to take on. So you're the ideal teacher. You have teaching ability on this day. But the thing that's going to undermine you is your ego, which says, oh, just be careful what you say. You don't want to fall on your face and make a fool of yourself. And like I said a moment ago, when you feel that vibe, that's actually proof that you're about to say something worthy because you're worried about it. So there's some sort of, oh, should I, shouldn't I? And it's that should I, shouldn't I that means push through it and say it. It's important. It's going to go in your favor. The South Node in Sag then means that on an energetic kind of universal level, there's some sort of opening that gives you an opportunity to actually create some content here. You have everything coming together perfectly. So your experience, your ability to think in an abstract way, your creativity, your ability to teach, your desire to be of service, and fertile ground or a fertile environment that's actually very welcoming to you and would like you to plant your seeds of information and insight. So it clicks together perfectly to make this a time for new ideas, innovation, invention, and new ideas which are going to benefit everybody. Yeah, so I would say the sun in Leo is like Jeff Bezos going to space. And then the full moon in Aquarius would be like Jeff Bezos, instead of going to space by himself, inventing something that's going to reduce energy emissions or pollution for the whole of the world, for example. It's a different goal. The power and the resources are there, but it's what am I trying to achieve here? So everything that you're trying to achieve will have some sort of basis in other people's needs and desires and what they require. So if you've never had a charitable moment in your life and you really want to do something for other people, and even if it's something mundane, like, I want to go visit a parent who I haven't seen in years and I want to reconnect, then that's the kind of thing you can do. Yeah, so also, if you're very self-absorbed, and I mean, there's no shame in that. I'm just saying, like, wherever you are in your life, when these things come along, it's important to take the opportunity. And if you're usually so self-absorbed that you can't think about anyone else's needs or what your behavior is doing or anything like that, it's like being short-sighted and getting some glasses today that you can put on and see how other people are impacted by you and how you can help and how you can get over yourself for the time being and do something for the greater good. It's really nice. It's like a humanitarian comes into your life spiritually and says, okay, let's do something different today. And let's focus on how we can use this whole system that you've got going for yourself and use that to help other systems on this planet. It's nice. It's kind of like ascended master vibes, this full moon in Aquarius. I like it. It's peaceful. It's considerate. It's good. It's about, the best aspects of humanity being revealed. And when you put those together and work together, then you can achieve something really terrific and marvelous. Anything else? I just want to look at some of the other planets here. I'm just being drawn to them. Mercury in Virgo at 18 degrees means that you have really good critical thinking skills. So it's, again, about identifying what needs to be changed. Pluto in Capricorn allows you to really have a big moment of insight that changes the reality of the future. Saturn at 8 degrees in Aquarius, there's real confidence in your ideas and your ability to make sense of things. So rely on that, use it. It can change your circumstances significantly. And if you do have an idea on this day, please don't waste it and just throw it in a drawer somewhere in a notebook. Do something with it. It can create real freedom, financial freedom. It can change your circumstances dramatically. It can open things up for other people. Like one invention happens and then you can invent something based on that other thing. And another person can come in then and expand and grow on the second invention. It's a snowball effect. One good deed affects another. So it's really important that you engage with this whole humanitarian process and that you insert something valuable when you've got something to contribute and to share. And that is it. So I hope that gives you an idea of what this full moon in Aquarius is going to be like. I hope you have a wonderful time. If you would like a personal reading with me, then please get in touch via my website. It's gregoryscott.com. On the front page, click on book your reading to order your reading with me. I use astrology, the tarot, numerology, and my intuition in my personal readings. If you have questions about your life purpose or what's coming up for you over the next few months or years, or where you should be living, or what's happening in your love life or personal development, friendships, money, spiritual development, colleagues, institutions, anything at all, then please do get in touch with me for a personal reading via the website gregoryscott.com. If you like this video, then please give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and share the video online. I hope you have a fabulous time, and I'll speak to you tomorrow.